Incoming transmission. Oh no.
Welcome to TennoTalk, episode 17. I'm your ever-present host, Rebecca, and joining me is my equally ever-present co-host, Jeremy.
Except for when I'm not here.
You're always here. You're never not here.
Damn.
Spoiler alert. So this has been a crazy week of anticipation. It feels like every day. I feel like when we were logging in, we're like, is Revenant here? Is Revenant here?
And guess what, guys?
It's here.
Revenant's here.
Revenant's here. So yeah, I think that's been the focus of our week, is just getting ready for Revenant.
You know, it's funny because it actually wasn't.
Really?
I had other plans, and then a brave soul gifted me the Revenant set. So I got the Revenant like 3 or 4 days sooner than I'd planned. So I've already put a lot of time into Revenant that I was actually going to put into another frame.
Oh yeah, you were. I remember that. Because I remember talking to you about our plans for this week.
Yeah.
When it came to stuff. But yeah, I think the most thing I've done this week is Prime Vault farming. I've been doing some Vault Relic runs for like random stuff.
Yeah, plus you did a lot of dojo decorating.
Yes. The dojo is officially back up and running. We have everything in there, which is absolutely fantastic. So yeah, I did a lot of that and found out how to break the map in the navigation room. So
Shh. Don't give it away.
I know. Just Google how to break the map in the dojo. You'll find several videos that teach you how to do it. So yeah, so I'm super excited to be kind of doing some fun little building outside a little bit of our ship in that room. So I'm super excited. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's going to take a lot of mats, but it'll be really fun.
Yeah, the big thing for me was I noticed there was a lot of stuff popping up, a lot of alerts for potatoes and that sort of thing, and Forma. Clearly, getting people ready for Revenant coming out. And I was like, you know what? I have enough plat to put a potato in something, a couple potatoes. I also had a couple of potatoes. Well, I had one reactor.
Yeah.
And then I went and finished up some, what's his name? I finished some scanning stuff for Samaris.
Yeah, for Samaris.
So that I could get an Exilus adapter.
Nice.
So I was all ready to go, and I ended up with more than I needed. So I went to the dojo and rebuilt Nezha. And I was like, all right, this is what I'm going to do. Revenant will probably come out Thursday or Friday. He's not going to come out sooner than that, so I won't be able to play Revenant over the weekend. So I'm finally going to take this time to put a real build on Nezha. And I'm going to be ready to go. I'm going to give him the time that he, probably deserves, because I was looking at it from the same point of view as Octavia.
Yeah.
I loathed Octavia. And then I put some real time into her, and I've done a complete 180. She's probably my favorite frame.
Yeah.
And so I figured, why not? I'll give Nez a fair shake, because he can't be that bad. I know I'm missing something. And he comes out of the oven on Friday, and I'm like, all right, here we go. I logged in. I'm going to play some Neza, and I got gifted Revenant. I was like, fuck Neza. He doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, I know on Friday, we ended up not streaming because we both weren't feeling really good. But we spent a lot of time in-game while I was doing dojo stuff and kind of just hanging out with everybody. I remember you guys were just, you and some clanmates were just hitting it real hard with Revenant and just joking that there was, so many Revenants in the leveling and like Hydron and Akkad and all of those. So I thought it was really funny.
Yeah, I imagine over the course of the weekend, it's only gotten worse as people's Revenants start finishing up, and you'll get people who rush him and that sort of thing. So
Yeah.
I imagine by next week it's going to be all Revenants all the time.
I know, right? He just looks so funny. Like listening to you talk about him, he just seems so powerful. And it's kind of scary.
So I saw a lot of people that were, hopping in there in like a COD, and they'd get it unlocked and they'd start using it. They'd be like, oh, Revenant's going to get nerfed. Revenant's going to get nerfed. I don't know.
Really?
Like so the thing about Revenant is he feels like Pablo designed him. I guess we won't get too much into it because I want to spend another week on it before I really like try to do a breakdown on what I like and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But so like he's got so many, and the reason I say it feels like a Pablo class is you look at Nidus or Saren or Harrow, all of their skills weave into each other. They all serve a purpose outside of just skill 1 does this, skill 2
Yeah.
does this. And there's nothing wrong with frames like that, but some of these other classes have so many internal synergies. They, and Pablo's classes are kind of the best example of that. And Revenant feels that way. You can use Enthrall, his one skill, to like take over an enemy. And then when you use things like your Reeve or your Dance Macabre, then you get bonuses when you hit enemies that you've already targeted with Enthrall. And then Mesmer Skin gives you armor, but it also, like, while you have it up, enemies that attack you can get enthralled if they like melee attack you. Or no, sorry, they don't get enthralled. If they attack you, they become stunned, and then you can enthrall them for free.
Yeah.
It's no energy cost. So, his whole kit just works so well together that he feels really powerful. But, then you look at his kit and it's like, well, I mean, realistically, his laser dance is really the only one doing the damage.
Yeah, exactly.
Like he's not, it is a very powerful skill. And when you get, I don't want to sound like a Dark Souls player, but when you get good,
good.
when you get good at using his skills, like you pop Mesmer Skin, so you've got the armor, then you pop Dance Macabre. Macabre feels wrong, but I think it's Macabre. Anyway, you pop the dance, and then you can actually use Reeve, which is your dash.
Your smoke.
You can use that while you're using the dance. So if you get really good about popping it and then turning it off immediately, just right when you need, like, you can control how far you move by stopping the Reeve. You can interrupt it. And it all works together. And then, while you're doing the dance, you can like double the damage by holding down the left click, but that drains energy a lot faster. So I feel like it's not so much that he's going to get nerfed. They may just up his energy drain.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's a nerf, because that's just balance. A nerf would be like, in my opinion, and people can disagree, that's fine, but in my opinion, a nerf would be like, oh, well, let's half the damage. So, when you had it, the trigger pulled down now versus when you don't have it put down, you're doing a quarter of the damage. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
they could quote unquote nerf it pretty easily by just scaling back the damage. But I think what they'll do, because this plays into builds and build varieties, they might just up the energy cost of the dance. Because I noticed, like, I didn't have a ton of energy problems, but to be fair, Streamline and Primed Flow were the first 2 mods I put on him.
That's fair, yeah. So, stick those on and you're good.
Yeah, because I kind of figured, I was like, that dance is probably, because this is before I'd even really used him much at all. So I was like, that dance is probably going to suck energy pretty quickly. So I knew I was going to grab Primed Flow and then Streamline. So I ended up, I'm pretty happy with my build. It has 3 Forma on it already. I'm toying with the idea of, he comes with a D polarity built in. I'm toying with the idea of dropping that for another V, switching out a mod. But yeah, he's, I will say one interesting thing though. I think his shotgun may be the best part.
Yeah, I've seen so many videos going up earlier, like this weekend, like, on Saturday and Sunday and stuff. I've seen a lot of videos going up about how it's one of the best weapons in the game now. Like, hands down, it's amazing.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not a numbers guy. I don't know if it's going to be one that, everybody's going to be taking into, 4-hour survivals. I don't even have the simulacrum unlocked, so I can't number crunch it like that. But as far as feel goes, it's everything I love about the Arcoplasmor and grenades.
Nice.
It's like you took, or not, I'm sorry, not the Arcoplasmor, the other one.
The Amprex?
It's like the Amprex, except it also has a little bit of the lens or the Tsar added into it with its alt fire.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's just a beam weapon, but it has a giant ass explosive on it as well. It's really fun, and it reloads so fast.
Yeah.
It only holds 11 rounds, which go pretty quickly, but if you're like caught up in the craziness and just holding down the left click for just the regular shot, you almost don't even notice when you go to reload because it's just bam bam and he's firing again. It's real quick.
Yeah, I remember you guys were, I think that's the one most memorable thing that I heard you guys talk about the weapon is that it was just such a fast reload.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. I'm really excited to build it. I haven't built it yet. And I didn't get the bundle. So it's one of those things I'm going to be picking up probably this coming week. To build it and stuff like that. I've just been so focused on the dojo, honestly, and getting plat back after I, put so much plat back into it, and I had to buy some slots because I've been literally getting nonstop. Every single weapon that I don't have from relics I've been building. So I have so many random weapons now.
That's funny.
Yeah, I was going through the other day in my arsenal, and I was like, I think I have between my primary, my secondary, and my melee, I'm pretty sure I have 10 weapons to MR.
Whew.
Yeah. Just between random ones that I've built versus the prime ones that nobody keeps. So yeah, I have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, I do think you'll like the Phantasma though. It's weird though. It has a status chance of 39% base. So you only need 3 of the 60/60 mods to get to 100%.
Nice.
And it does radiation built in.
Dang.
Which means you can do blast and radiation or something like that, because you don't need the heat and the lightning to make the rad damage because it has it built in. So you can actually get
3 different statuses.
You could get blast, viral, and radiation all together.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's OP.
I think that works, right? Blast, viral. Yeah, I think that's one you could. Anyway, the point is you can get 3 of them. Instead of just the usual 2.
That is so neat.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh my god, I love it. And so something that also got shared this week was Steve on Twitter showed the new radial menu that they're toying with right now. And I love it. So if you guys don't know what this is, it's the gear menu. So the little circle that you only have 10 slots. I get really annoyed that I only have 10 slots in there. So it looks like it's going to be a new one that's more of a spiral. I don't know. I'm really excited because I can put more stuff on it once, so I don't go in and say, "Oh shit, I forgot to equip this."
Yeah, those. When in old movies they're trying to hypnotize you, so they spin that spiral right in front of your eyes.
Yeah,
that's what the new radial menu looks like.
Yep.
So you scroll. I'm interested to see how it's going to work, but yeah, you scroll down almost like a corkscrew, and he said in the comments, a lot of people were saying, oh, somebody's been playing Prey. So I think Prey may have a similar radial menu.
Got it. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But that's really cool. I'm pretty sure Steven has been playing Prey too, though, if I'm being honest.
He said he had. He said that's where he got the idea, is that and a couple other games that had done it. He said it works well. And some people were concerned. I think it got brought up because people were concerned of okay, well, that's great if you have a mouse, but that looks like it's going to feel really crappy with a controller. And someone brought up that it's the same one. It's similar to the one they use in Prey, and that worked fine.
Okay.
So we'll see how it goes, but...
Yeah. I'm just more excited to have more stuff on. Because I literally had to move my mine cutter, my little laser mine thing, off of my bar the other day because I needed that spot.
Yeah.
And I was like, shit, I really hope I don't go out mining on the plains and forget this.
Yeah. So he said it was... I think he called it a rough draft or something like that. It's real simple, rudimentary. It'll probably, if it makes it through, the cut, if he likes how it works, it'll probably still be a while, but
yeah,
it's cool. It's a nice little thing coming.
Yeah, it's a nice little quality of life adjustment, I think. I don't know. I'm really excited.
Yeah.
So I know we touched on it last week, but there was a question that we got in last week through our Discord by Seer Prophet of what's the best CC frame in the game for endgame. And we kind of explained that we wanted to take a little bit on this one and think about it a little bit more and have more time because that was the last question and we didn't really have time in our episode to do it. So I wanted to kind of touch on it today. Now, keep in mind that this is just our opinions. This is 2 mid-MR, not vet players that, have been playing on and off for a while and have come back and started hitting it hard and we're still learning. But as of right now with our end game, especially because we both do a lot of solo and doing content as well, These are our thoughts when it comes to the CC frames. And also between the two of us, Jeremy likes different CC frames than I do. So we all kind of have, we both have different definitions of what can count as a CC frame as well. But yeah, I just wanted to break it down. I think the hardest part with this question though is defining endgame.
Yep.
Because endgame doesn't really exist in the game. Endgame is kind of what you make it. So that could be anything from soloing, duoing content, endurance runs, if you're one to do endurance runs, or even sorties. And hopefully soon these new high alerts, the high level alerts coming in.
Which I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah. So that essentially is what I'm looking at for when it comes to like our end game type of stuff. So we'll just start with sorties. So we all know sorties are in there. I know a lot of it will depend on what type of mission it is. But in general, Jeremy, if we're going to go run sorties and you want to take a frame, thinking more because you are a CC frame player, more than I am. I like to play a little bit of both. Which one do you think is like your go-to frame?
So if you'd asked me that on Friday before like 5 o'clock, I probably would have said Octavia.
Yeah.
She has really good scaling on her damage. Two of her skills pull aggro, so in their own way they're doing CC, and I guess we'll define that CC as she's causing enemies to not target her. For the sake of argument, we'll call that for her. We'll call that a form of CC because it is a form of it. Especially her 2 skill resonator, because that'll run around and it'll force the enemies to chase it. So we'll, for the sake of argument, but she also has her 4 amp, which makes everything she does better. And then her 3 skill, which can give her stealth and adds multi-shot and all these other buffs. So in my opinion, there's very little in the game that she can't tackle.
Yeah.
Because of that. She just has so much going on in her toolkit. And this may be a little premature considering it's Sunday evening right now. But I may actually make a case for Revenant now.
Because of the thralls and stuff like that?
Because of his enthrall. Yeah, because he feels like the best parts of Nyx and Mesa. Well, I won't say best parts of Mesa. Maybe the better parts of Mesa with the best parts of Nyx.
Nice. Okay.
Really rudimentary comparison there. I'm sure people are free to disagree with that, but real down to basics. That's kind of what he feels like. And
so you're thinking for sorties he'd be really good?
I think so, because you can enthrall targets and then they'll, do your bidding. They'll go fight for you. But then, like, if stuff starts to get real hairy, you can use your dash through them and get bonus overshields because they're already enthralled. And you get a bonus, back when you use your Reeves skill. So not only are you CCing targets to fight for you, much like Nyx would, but then you can literally consume them to replenish yourself while you're also enthralling more targets. So I think you could make a case for he's going to be strong with that. I don't know. Well, I won't get ahead of myself, but yeah, I think he's going to be really solid in sorties.
Yeah. I can see that. I can see Octavia really well because I'm thinking usually normal sorties. Usually you either have like a spy or a survival, a defense, and I don't see a lot of interceptions, but maybe I just miss those days. But really Octavia would be good for all of those. I think for me, when it comes to like CC, I'm probably going to go a little bit more of a traditional frame and go Nova. Just because the way I have my Nova built up with the speeding and the slowing down, it's absolutely wonderful. Just because if you're doing those longer ones where, you're doing a defense, so you're trying to get it through quickly so you can get through the waves faster versus times. So it's not a time thing, you're just trying to get through. That speed is impeccable. And it is such a good CC to have when you're doing that type of stuff, especially when you're up against high level enemies, because then everybody stays together. Staying together means more chance of, surviving. But then when it comes to like the way I have her built right now, because I have my speed build and my slow build, if you're trying to go through an assassination and you're trying to just get in, get out, or a rescue, get in, get out type of stuff, really quickly, captures. Having that slowdown is really good because it slows down everybody else, all the enemies, so you can just run past them.
Yeah.
So the less enemies you have to fight, especially when you're getting into those higher tiers and those higher enemies and you're running squishier frames, people are trying to move quickly, the more likely you all are going to survive, especially when you've got stuff with like hazards. And her portals are wonderful for a radiation hazard because you can literally just zip past everything.
Yeah,
And it's really nice.
I may not enjoy playing her that much, but I can't think of a mission that I wouldn't want. Like, if I could control what frame you play,
Yeah.
I can't think of a mission I wouldn't ask you to play Nova on. Like,
Yeah.
that I'd be like, I'm going to bring Nova, and I'd never go like, oh, damn it, I don't want to play with Nova.
Yeah, exactly.
She makes you good. You know, that's just how she is.
Yeah, so I think at least for those, at least from our opinion, those are probably what we consider the two best when it comes to sorties. There are other honorable mentions, of course. I would probably never scoff at having a hero, anybody that can do like the chaining, lock people down, depending on the mission type, stuff like that. I really do think sorties is a good set into it to really have, to not only kind of embrace the CC style, because you're moving so quickly, if you could have a way to mitigate or control or, move around the enemies, that is really good. Even Mirage, I could see having her place in sorties if you're trying to blitz through some stuff, throwing her Prisma Ball around and blinding everything so you can run. That's a form of CC and it works. But I think for me, it's going to be Nova. And I definitely agree with Octavia, too. I think she's a really good, solid CC frame for sorties.
I mean, even beyond sorties, I just can't think of a time when, if I feel like playing CC,
that she's not.
That she's not going to at least be my second choice, if not always my first choice.
Yeah, well, I can guess that on our next one, endurance runs, she's still going to be your first choice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a lot of merit to that. I've noticed that we're more successful when we have an Octavia with us than when we have any other frame.
Yeah, like
for endurances.
Yeah, I started to say this in the last one, but I didn't want to get ahead of myself. But when you get to endurance runs, she can drop her mallet right in front of where the group tends to hold up. The corner or the room, wherever Volt's dropping his shields. Drop the mallet right in front of those shields so the enemies will kill themselves just standing there and you guys can shoot. Meanwhile, I'll run off in stealth to go get life support. And while I'm out there, I can just drop the resonator if enemies are swarming me. And then they'll just chase the resonator around for 40 seconds or however long. I think it's 40 seconds that I have it. That's the sweet spot for me. And, they'll just chase it around and I can just walk around completely. Like, I don't need to worry about stealth running out as long as the ball is close enough that it's pulling aggro away from me. Like,
yeah,
it's just almost too good. Like, I think that's why I'm not worried about Revenant getting nerfed, because Octavia is better.
Yeah, Octavia is super
and she
strong.
hasn't been nerfed yet. Knock on wood.
Yeah.
Don't listen to me.
Yep, but I think for me when it comes to endurance runs, I'm still gonna have to go with Nova, mainly because one, she's my boo, she's my bae, I love her to death.
Your boo bae.
She's my boo bae, and sorry.
I'm sorry.
That was bad. But also just because, and I've seen a lot of discussion about this, and I know a couple of the content creators also have looked at this recently. If you can speed up the targets getting to you, that means the less spread out everybody has to be to kill them to get life support off of them. So if you have that CC getting them to run faster to you, it means the more chance that you're not going to need to pop as many life support because it's going to be right in front of you.
Yeah, I think it was Life of Rio that did the video. He mentioned, like, if you're going to be there less than like 2 hours, that Nova speeding enemies up will net you more life support than Necros will with a Despoil build. But there, of course, like everything, there is a drop off to that. Eventually, Necros starts to win, in the end. So it just depends on how long you're going. But there's so much more, like you said, there's more to it than just the drops for her. Like, the thing, like, anything affected by her CC explodes, damaging its surroundings and that kind of thing. And those portals, They may not always be necessary, but when they are, there's no replacing them.
I know, right? There's
they are
no
very
quick
solid.
escapes.
Yeah.
They're solid. So lastly, as far as what we went between here, Jeremy and I at TennoTalk defined as endgame would be soloing or duoing content. So doing content with hard content with the least amount of people in it that you're comfortable with. So solo survivals, solo endurance runs, solo boss clearing, stuff like that is kind of what all of this kind of goes into, because there's nothing better. And I know just from people talking in the Discord and in the clan that there's a lot to be said when, you know, someone says, hey, I just soloed the Terror List. I just soloed Terry. I just soloed Harry. I just soloed Gary.
Yeah.
And I mean, those are Eidolons, obviously, the bosses, but it's so cool to see someone solo those, you know? So do you think CC frames fit into this when you're soloing or doing? And if so, like, who would you take?
I think there are frames with CC elements that can fit into this, but because the Eidolons themselves aren't affected by CC, I don't think so. Rhino and Harrow both have elements of CC to their skills, but those elements aren't what allows them to solo the Terrorist and the Gauntletist and all of that, the Hydralist. You know, he's not using, you know, for instance, Rhino's not using Stomp to stop the Terrorist from moving.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like that's just not how it works. Now, you could make an argument because I don't know if it CCs the little guys,
the Vombalists.
the Vombalists. I don't know if it CCs them or not, but it does damage them.
Yeah.
And I've had luck, unless it was just a glitch or my eyes deceiving me, with Harrow using Condemn and locking down Vombalists.
Yeah.
I don't think you can lock down the ghost form, but the material form that you don't need your operator to destroy. I'm pretty sure, I don't have any proof of this, but I'm pretty sure he's able to lock those down with Condemn. But, you know, realistically, those two frames are using their damage mitigation in order to avoid those magnetic procs, and that's what they're really relying on.
Yeah,
from what I can tell.
Yeah, I feel like when it comes to the Terror List doing those on smaller groups than a 4-stack, the issue there that I see is a lot of that depends on, 1, your weapons damage, your weapon build, and 2, your amp for your operator. You know, if you've got a good amp and you've got really good weapons that do enough, you know, rad damage and can one-shot all those pieces, it doesn't matter your frame, because you can use your operator mode and the void dashes and stuff to mitigate a lot of the damage that you would be getting using pizzas and energy dashes and stuff to regen that energy for the magnetic procs. Like, there's a ways around it. So I think I think I agree with you. For as far as when it comes to the abilities of CC frames when it comes to soloing or working in smaller parties for the Eidolon hunting, I think CC really only fits in there in those, like what you said, the weird micro ones that have some type of CC ability, but it's not the main focus.
Right.
It's those hybrids that really can kind of be successful there.
Yeah. Now, I will say, if you're trying to solo endurance or solo, like, run as many defense missions as possible, or trying to solo sorties, I think you can sort of look back at the previous answers. I still think Octavia is going to be wonderful at all of that. I think depending on the mission type, Valbon could potentially be a shoo-in for it.
I was thinking Rhino too with the stomp and stuff. That would be really strong if you're soloing content.
Yeah.
Just for 1, the survivability, and 2, the CC.
Yeah, I think the options are still there, but because you mentioned the Eidolons specifically,
I mean, we can break it down between the two. I don't think CC frames fit in Eidolon endgame unless you're with a full stack.
I think, well, if you want to get, like, really specific with it, I don't think Nyx Eidolon hunts at all.
Nope.
She's not bringing anything to that group.
No, you just have to have good weapons.
Yeah, it's purely based on that radiation Vectus Prime that you brought. Like,
yeah,
because
that's the only.
Yeah, that's the only thing that really, you know, justifies her position in that particular one.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, if her damage prevention, is that Chaos Storm?
Yeah, the 4 ability.
Yeah, her 4 ability. If that one does prevent the radiation proc, then it's selfish, but it does work. But I think like.
But at that point, you're not using her CC abilities; you're using her defense abilities. So
Yeah,
there's a difference.
And then even then, like, why'd you bring her over Chroma, Rhino, Volt?
Exactly.
Harrow,
Better defenses.
Trinity? There are so many other options, that even Nyx's mains probably don't bring her for Eidolon hunting.
Yeah. Now I will say I think it's really interesting thinking on the mission types versus Eidolons, doing them as solo, for like that challenge and that end games type of challenge for you. I do think it'd be really interesting to see numbers wise the difference between when you take like a pure damage frame like Saren versus you take like a CC person like Nova or Harrow, to kind of see. Yeah, your DPS frames might be killing stuff faster, which I mean could mean they're longer living, but does the CC abilities, the stopping, the stomps, the slowdowns make the difference?
Well, this depends on player skill, but I know, I almost feel bad for keep bringing him up, but we are talking about endurance type runs, but Rio is pretty adamant, like I believe and any frame can do 2 hours.
Yep.
Because 2 hours, and I think part of that is 2 hours dodging and weapon damage is still going to be enough to carry you.
Yeah.
Like just being good with what defenses you have, regardless of your frame's abilities, and having a powerful weapon, like that's really enough to get to 2 hours. So, I would say, with looking at what you're talking about, I would say the timer starts at 121 minutes. How much longer do the DPS frames versus the CC frames versus the tank frames? How much longer do they last? I'd be really interested to see that.
Oh, yeah. So I guess to get back to it, because I know we broke into kind of down our opinions, but I guess if we had to legitimately answer this here, of what is the best CC frame in the game for endgame,
Octavia.
I would have to relent and say Octavia, because you have the buffing, and she is a CC frame. You have the lockdown with the mallets. You've got her resonator that can charm them and run them around so you can get to objectives and hold stuff and get people off of points. And then you've got the invisibility. And I think overall that gives you the best toolkit of both CC and self-sustain. For any sort of endgame, because you can't focus just on CC in endgame, because you have to be able to survive it. You have to be able to take the hits.
Yeah.
And that, I think, gives you the best kit, not only on doing damage, but directing enemies and really just keeping yourself safe. It's the whole package right there.
Yeah, I would agree with that, because the pure CC frames like Valbon and Nyx, I don't think they hold up that well at quote-unquote endgame.
Yeah.
There's certain missions, there's certain places. I personally love both of those frames.
Oh, yeah.
But based on our definition of endgame for the purpose of this conversation, I would agree.
Yeah.
I would take them into endgame in a pre-made party where, the rest of my group knew I was taking them. So it wasn't, surprise random public crew, I brought Valbon to a spy bow only sortie mission.
Yeah, I know, right?
I would do that to you guys, but I wouldn't do that to like a public
All
group.
Atlas spy sorties. We
Exactly.
have done that.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think the CC hybrid frames are perfectly viable, and I think personally Octavia is the best of those at the moment.
Yeah, and I think all of her, because of the damage scaling with Mallet and Resonator, really being able to direct enemies around and keep them occupied, is a really strong form of CC. So I think that's going to be my pick. If I had to pick right now the best CC frame in the game that is for endgame, I'd have to say Octavia. But yeah, Seer, I know you said you were a little sad that we didn't answer it last week, and I'm sorry it took us an extra week. But we really wanted to like put some thought into this. Because we know that this is such a broad and very opinionated type of question.
Yeah, so we'll open it up to you guys.
Yeah.
Are we wrong or are we right? You should send us messages.
I don't think there's a wrong or
Tell us
right.
Well,
it's just whether
in
you
their
agree or
opinion.
disagree.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's their opinion. Like, is did I trigger someone by saying Valbon on a bow only sortie? Like, speak up. let's discuss it.
Especially because I know there's been a lot of discussion right now, and we see this from the subtle hints from DE themselves about the CC was king, especially as they're going through and doing reworks on frames. So I think it's always something really cool to look at on the CC versus the pure DPS and seeing, what are people taking, especially also since we saw all the numbers for the stats last week, after the dev stream. So I'd really like to hear your guys' thoughts on it.
I would say, just kind of backpedaling a little bit, Inaros and Nidus probably
Honorable mentions or
probably decent for solo sorties, depending on the mission type.
Yeah, I could see that.
And definitely viable candidates for regular, just doing sorties. Absolutely, both of those are solid CC frames.
Yep.
Nidus being a little more CC/damage hybrid, kind of like, Octavia and the Revenant.
Yeah. I feel like there's most CCs are hybrids at this point.
I would agree with that.
But yeah, thank you again, Seer, for that question. It was really, it made us think, and I really appreciate that. Like, as we were kind of thinking through the whole process of how to answer that.
It's funny, like, I was thinking through the process of how to answer it and kind of, maybe thinking a little too hard, and then Rebecca breaks the question down like this. Is like, oh, easy, Octavia.
And favorite Octavia.
Well, man, I should have just answered this last week and said Octavia.
Yeah, but we appreciate it.
Yeah.
But speaking of hard questions, we got a lot of emails and Discord messages and Twitter questions in, so we're definitely going to be going through a bunch of these as well today, because there are a lot of really cool ones that we want to answer this week.
Yeah, please keep these coming. This is so much fun. This is the kind of discussion question stuff that we wanted to do from the start. So
yes,
we're getting a little bit of it from you guys now. Please keep it coming. This is so fun.
Yep. So I'm going to abbreviate this email. This one is from Zyrogel. So basically, he sent us a video to watch to kind of get a little bit of context for the question. Mm-hmm. So the question is, what is our when I get there moment? Or what do you plan on doing guilt-free when you've gotten there? So essentially, this is one of you go into a game, you focus on, I need to get here. And then that's, once I get there, the game opens, or once I get there, I can do something else.
So the context for the video is this person posted video from mid 2017, I believe. They finally got to MR23, which was realistically, I guess, the highest you could get to at that point.
Yes, that was the cap.
Yeah, based on the context clues, I'm assuming that this person had reached max level, and they wanted to do a list of like, okay, here's all the stuff that I can go do without feeling guilty for not working on MR.
Yep.
And I have to say, if I'm being honest, that was a depressing video.
Yeah, well, let me finish reading this because he has a PS in it, and I think this is actually like a really interesting part. It says, do you think it's a logical fallacy to plan on doing literally everything, as in we should just enjoy our game at our current place of progress instead of making arbitrary superficial goals?
Ding, ding, ding.
And I think that is the best way to put it, that last part.
Yeah. So
I'll let Jeremy go first because I know he's been thinking about this a lot since we got this email in.
Yeah, this has been on my mind all week. I think that by approaching a game like Warframe, and this doesn't hold true with all online games, but Warframe specifically, I think this definitely rings true. I think if you go in saying, all right, I need to hit MR25, that is my goal. I'm going to do it no matter what. You're going to be done with the game in a month. And once you get there, and I have a reason for this, but once you get there, what do you have left to do? Because you just blitzed through the content. There's nothing left. So then all you have to do is wait around for the next big upcoming patch. Well, then the grass starts looking greener on the other side. Destiny's got a new patch coming out this week. I think it's this week. And meanwhile, we've still got a ways to go before we get to Fortuna here in Warframe. However, even though there's still a ton of the game that you haven't experienced, you set a goal in your mind. I need to get to 25. You finished that goal. In a way, you feel like you're done.
No, I guess I can understand like seeing you put blinders on and got so focused that you kind of blitzed through everything before you realized and enjoyed it. But I also can see, especially in a game like Warframe, that's so if we're specifically talking about this type of game, because like Jeremy said, it doesn't work in other games. I do think that you do need goals. At least maybe that's just a personal thing for me. Because if I log in every day and I'm like, what do I want to do today? Then I find myself getting frustrated. Like, well, why am I not further along? Why have I not? I've sold, and I had this with prime parts. Like, I sold so many of these prime parts for ducats when I could have, gotten these, and then I wouldn't have to worry about it. Instead of now, I'm having to do all of this stuff that I missed. So I don't know. I think there's like a balance between the two for me. I think you should set goals in Warframe, but don't set them so high. Like, I'm going to hit MR 25. Yeah, I'm MR 16. That's not going to happen for a while.
I think the problem isn't that you shouldn't have goals. I don't think that's what I'm trying to say. But I think the problem is if you aren't careful with the goals, I think every time you log in, you should have a plan. There should be a reason you log in, or you're just going to AFK in your ship, waiting for, an alert that looks enticing or something.
Yep, something to happen to get you to move.
And I'm guilty of that. Doesn't matter the game. And, in WoW, the dreaded, end up AFKing in Orgrimmar for 2 hours. Like, why am I still logged in right now? I'm not doing anything. You're running back and forth. In Warframe, it's running up and down the little stair ramp.
Yep.
That comes
to navigation.
Down. Yeah, just between navigation and your arsenal. Just sprinting back and forth and sliding down that ramp as it lowers. And I end up wasting a lot of time there because when I logged in, I didn't have a reason. Like I was just like, I'm bored. I'm gonna log in. Don't ever just log in because you're bored. Like. Have a plan.
Step 1 to avoid burnout.
Yeah, but I don't know that necessarily translates to you need goals, because I don't have goals. I have things that, I'd like to get to 25, but, I'm 17. That's enough for any of the frames or ribbons in the game currently. I don't really feel like I have to get to 25 right now.
That's fair.
And that's kind of the scary part for me. I'm not saying you're wrong, but for me, the scary part to having goals is if I get into that goal-oriented mindset, then I'm going to go complete the goal. And then I'm going to spend all of my time on Hydron ranking up shit weapons that I don't want. And then I'll be 25, and in a week or 2 weeks or something, I'll have made it to 25, and my eyes will be bleeding, and I'll be just praying for the game to end. Because, that was my goal, and I got it. And that's kind of... I think that's my fear in setting certain goals. Now, if I log in and I have like a goal for today I want to put a proper build on Nezha. Yeah, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think that's kind of more what you were alluding to.
Yeah.
Little like short-term goals to give you a reason to log in.
Yeah, I will say I do have like a guilt-free plan on doing when you've gotten there type of a thing. And that for me is once I have all of the frames and I have all of the weapons that I want or that are worthwhile. I think the plan on doing guilt-free is to go back through and put builds and potatoes and everything. Because right now, especially when I don't have them and I'm using plats for the Exilus adapters or for the potatoes, the reactors and the catalysts and stuff like that, it's one of those, I could be putting this to use on a different frame, that I might like more because I'm still getting all the frames and I'm still leveling the weapons, and I've put potatoes in Forma and I haven't touched the weapon since, so I haven't touched the frame since, and it feels like a waste a little bit. So I think I do have like a guilt-free when I've gotten there, and that'll be when I have all of the weapons and all the frames and stuff that I want, and I'm sitting pretty and I'm not focusing on MRing or not grinding a weapon because I need it. Then I can go back through and I have all the builds I want. Then I'll go back through and experiment. And I'll start doing potatoes and formas and stuff because I won't feel like I'm wasting them. And that's my fear with those.
I can see that. For me, it's more of a, do I like this weapon? Yes. Well, then I'm going to, put at least a rudimentary build together for it. I've potatoed all the frames that I have. and I put Exilis slots in almost all of them. I think there's a few that I haven't done that for. But to be fair, it's all the primes that I have, and only a couple of the non-primes, like, Cora and Octavia, the ones that don't have primes. So I think for me, if you really wanted to know, like, realistically, what's a guilt-free thing, I would say it's Tennogen, because once I have all the frames MR'd, I'm going to pick my favorite frames, and I'm going to buy every single cosmetic option I can for them.
That's fair.
But I want to wait until I get to the point where I have a proper build for them, because you never know. When on a proper build, Wukong may be my favorite frame in the game, and I just haven't given him a fair shake. And, so I go and spend like $200 on, Limbo Tennogen stuff or something. And then I put a build together on Wukong. I'm like, oh man, this is my favorite frame.
Yeah.
I need to spend some more time with all the frames on proper builds before I really start wasting money like that.
Like me buying a skin for Octavia, even though I hate her.
You never play her? Yeah.
Never play her, and I have one of the best Octavia skins ever.
Yeah.
That's not her deluxe skin, by the way. TLDR, it's not.
Yeah, I know, because her deluxe one is the best one.
Oh, hush, we're going to fight about this again.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to duke it out. But I really appreciated this question, because I think it's a really interesting, and it also, this lets me rethink how I'm approaching Warframe, especially as, we're having the discussion that we're having up on episode 20 coming in. I think that this type of thing can really play into what causes people to burn out of games. Not only Warframe, but every game, really.
Yeah,
is setting those the arbitrary, superficial goals instead of really just enjoying where you're at in the game and stuff like that.
My inspiration for answering this question actually came from looking at other games that I want to get into, like possibly going back to World of Warcraft for the Battle for Azeroth expansion, or Elder Scrolls Online now that Somerset's out. And, I was thinking about it because I've been playing some ESO lately. I was like, I kind of just want to rush straight to Somerset. And then I was like, I know it's going to happen, though. I'll finish Somerset, and then I'll log out and unsubscribe. And I'm like, I didn't do anything between the start of the game and Somerset. I just went straight to Somerset, but I feel like I finished the game.
Yeah, exactly.
And the same with Battle for Azeroth. Like, they've done so much as far as the leveling experience getting up to the newer expansions. But if you just hop in and finish the new expansion, then you feel like you're done with the game, and you're not.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I was coming from with my answer, because Warframe is kind of a strange being, because at any one time, there's an alarming amount of stuff to do, but sometimes you don't feel like that.
Yeah.
So I have to be really careful about what I consider a goal versus what I consider just like my plans for logging in today and that kind of thing.
Yeah. So we had a really cool question come in through our Discord, through Kaladin, I think is how I say it. If I said it wrong, I apologize. I'm really bad with names. Says, in light of the Titania and Oberon, what Shakespeare character would you like to see made into a Warframe next? Or what mythological character in general? So this one was really cool because my brain instantly went back to Scandinavian history, which is my favorite place in the entire world. I was born in the wrong generation.
Yep.
I'm a Viking at
heart. But you'll live a lot longer.
That's fair, but I will live a lot longer than they will. But before we get into mine, Jeremy, do you have one?
Oh, I do, yeah.
Ooh, what's yours? We haven't talked about this yet. We literally started to answer this question to each other while we were out doing grocery shopping or something, and we immediately were like, stop. So I haven't heard this yet.
Yeah. So keeping with the initial question, tying into Titania and Oberon, I wanted to pick a Shakespeare character. And this was kind of annoying because if I'm being completely honest, I've read several of his works, but almost none of them with the fantastic elements to them. I've read, the main ones. I mean, yeah, there's ghosts in, I almost said The Lion King, in Hamlet. There's ghosts in Hamlet and that sort of thing, but nothing to the point where I was like, oh yeah, that could be a frame, until I was thinking about Prospero from The Tempest.
Ooh,
because
Prospero.
Prospero can command the weather and also raise the dead.
Okay, that's cool. I
So
didn't know that.
I was thinking of not quite a raise the dead type frame, but maybe like a single one that they can raise. Except I wanted him to be, so one of the things that he does in the play is like, like I said, he can control the weather, so we'll make him a bit of a CC frame, but we're also going to make him a pet class, because instead of focusing on the part where he I'm sorry, instead of focusing on the part where he can raise the dead, we're going to focus on the part where he raises the spirit Ariel.
Okay, cool.
And so Ariel is going to be a pet that he can command, and she's a ghost that, does her thing. Meanwhile, he has some wind-based CC type skills or even damage skills, because
That'd be cool.
I don't want it to be too much like Zephyr, because Zephyr's, I mean, she's already there. Whether you like her or not, she's already there. So we're not going to step on her toes too much, but I feel like there is room for themes to start overlapping. It's just because Ember is a fire themed frame doesn't mean we don't ever need to see fire again, as they've shown us with frames like Neja, who has fire. So I don't want to, and then there's plenty of similarities between what we've heard about Garuda and what we know already about Valkyr. So I think there's room for overlapping themes as long as the frames play in a somewhat original way.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go just because of what I said, we're gonna go for a damage pet class as opposed to a CC pet class, because we already have Korra.
Nice.
So
That's
we're gonna
cool.
go for like a lot of bleed heavy wind attacks in his control of the weather, and maybe we'll even make them like wind and rain type effects, because even though Hydroid is the water frame, in realistically he's the pirate frame.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's definitely still room for water. So maybe he'll control like the rainstorm type thing. Maybe he can even have a skill that has a bit of lightning to it, and then his passive, or maybe one of his skills is Ariel, the spirit, is this minion that he can summon forth.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, I don't know. Might not hold up,
Yeah.
Shakespearean critics are like, the fuck is this guy talking about? But
Right.
that's what I'm going with.
I went with more, technically it's not really a mythological, but it is a little bit. It lives in the mythos, which is the Jotun.
It's mythological.
It is kind of.
It is.
But if you know anything about Norse, or Norse history, Norse religion, there's a lot of talk about the Jotun, which were the frost giants. That was what they were. You see their iterations everywhere. The Jotun is really, really popular. Well,
Even
not popular.
in Warframe.
Huh?
Even in Warframe.
Yeah, even in Warframe.
Frost has a Jotun helmet.
Yep, he has a Jotun helmet. So I think it'd be cool to actually make a Jotun frame. But instead of making him frost-based, you could focus on the fact that they were hunters. So one that is... I know we have a lot of like melee-based frames, but I think it'd be really cool to focus in on ancient magic, which I know we saw Revenant come in with that Eidolon spirity magic stuff. But I think it'd be really cool to like bring in something that was from like the old world, and that could be Jotun, and it could be very rune-based. And it could be like, you could take it really anywhere, because I mean the runes in Norse language, and like the bind runes and everything, they were so immaculate. But I also think it'd be kind of cool if his skills were different runes, basically. So it's 1, 2, 3, and 4 were different runes, and depending on how you put them together is how you bound them.
Oh my god!
And based on how
love
you bound them is what effects they gave. So you could do like a bind that would be like something like ice related. You could do a bind that's something frost or fire related. You could do a bind that's a buff, a bind that's a debuff, and depending on the order that you put them in, it's how you stack them.
That would be fun too, because that would kind of harken back to Saren or Octavia's gameplay, where you're actively using all 4 skills.
Yeah, you're toggling between them, because with Saren you don't want your spores to decay, so you want to make sure that you're putting spores out, but you're not using your 1 skill too many times to lower that damage. You're using your 4, you're using your 3 to get more procs, which can let the things pass. You're using your molt, if you have regenerative molt, to heal back up. Like, it'd be a really cool play to bring a frame that uses all 4 of those, and I think it'd be really interesting to bring like a combo. It's a different look at a combo system, essentially. And really, you could take it any way you wanted to, but it could just be this massive, massive man. And you could introduce some really cool, some more axes. But instead of the big two-handed axes, you could introduce dual axes, like the Ichors.
I was thinking a spear.
Yeah, spear too. A spear would be really cool. Get an actual like throwing spear into the game.
Just a new class of melee weapon altogether.
It'd be really cool. But I don't know. I thought the combo system, especially hearkening to that lore of the bind versus stave, like, I don't know. I think it'd be really cool to like bind them. And once you use the abilities, and then depending on which one you bind is how much energy it takes. Or if you have one active in, like, you could have really cool particle effects of them drawing them in the air or popping up above them, and then they bind all together above his head so you know what's happening. Like, I don't know. I think it'd be really cool.
I think so. I think that's cool.
Yeah.
Good job. Thanks. I like that a lot.
I like that one too. I thought it was really cool. But I liked this question too because it was a lot of fun. Plus, I thought about you saying a liger at one point, and then I thought about a Pegasus. I was like, those were a little too weird for me. But yeah, but the Jotun is where I was at, and I really do like the idea of summoning a spirit. And going, I'm glad you did the Shakespeare side because I'm not the most versed in Shakespeare. For me,
I am certainly not either. I had to look up all those characters' names.
It's all right. You're more versed than I am. That's all that matters.
I remembered the story, but I had to like reread the Cliff Notes.
Yeah.
Just to make sure, and I could still have it wrong because so much of it is interpretive. So.
Yep.
That's what Shakespeare that's my answer. I think, truth be told, if Warframe did not exist, and Reb Ford or Steve Sinclair came to me and said, "Hey, we want to put a frame in based on a Shakespeare play," I would have said Titania.
Yep.
I may not have built her the way they chose to, but I would have that would have probably, like, Queen of the Fae. Yeah, that's what we're going with.
Yep, of course.
So, yeah.
But that's also because our roots are fantasy, so that's where we come from, is a very big fantasy background.
I was tempted to say Una, Queen of the Fae from Magic the
Gathering. Una,
but
but we already have a Queen of the Fae.
Can't have two Queens of the Fae. So
that's not how this works, unless they're very progressive. But we'll leave that talk for another day.
The Fae are ruled by a thruple. Una, Titania, and Oberon together.
Yes, but it's called two or Oto.
Oto is the right answer here.
Oto. So we got another email in. This one's from Jordan. It says, "Holy sentient, you two have an amazing podcast. I've been binge listening it since Monday while I work, and I'm currently finishing up episode 16. I'm so glad you like it."
Yeah, thank you so much.
I have a question for you guys for next week's episode. What is your favorite Ortis quote? Mine is an oldie but a goodie. Stand by while I analyze the intelligence profile of the Gurnier. Error, not a number. That's such a good one. I'm like, Ortis, you got sass.
He does have sass.
I think my favorite for this one is the one where he's counting all the stars, and he says all are accounted for, but there's no number.
Yeah.
He counted all of them and they're all there. Thanks.
That's funny.
It's also funny thinking about like the actual science part of it, of like light traveling. Like, there would always be more or less depending on how far the light is traveling and if the light was still there or not. So I don't know. And I saw a really funny joke the other day that do you wonder if aliens are looking through towards our planet, and because of the way light travels and stuff like that, they're like, dang, they have dinosaurs on their planet. I thought that was really funny.
That would be funny. Yeah,
that's funny. What about you? What's your favorite Ortis quote?
My favorite Ortis.
Hard.
No, it's not.
Really?
This was easy.
What's your favorite?
The moment you said it, I knew what my answer was going to be. It happens very infrequently, which is funny considering it's an Ortis quote. Sometimes I feel like he just won't shut up.
I know, right? Jesus.
But this one is every once in a while when you're on the mod menu, when you leave the mod workbench, especially if you sold a mod, he says, "I understand why you had to sell your mods. Perhaps someday Ortis will share a similar fate." And the first time I heard that broke my heart. I was like, Ortis, no.
Now you're like, Ortis, one more day, man. One more time, and I'll do it. My finger's on the button.
Yeah. Because, like, originally when I heard that, I was still super new to the game. I still loved Ortis. Ortis was still my bro.
I mean, he still is my bro.
I mean, yeah, I still like him. Just, I wasn't tired of any of his voice dialogue, but I'd heard a lot of it. So this one, because I didn't I'll admit I auto-modded for a very long time before I really started learning the ins and outs of builds. So it was quite a while before I actually would go to the mod workbench and actually look at my mods. So when he said that to me, like, it broke my heart. Because I had legitimately sold the mods, and I was like, oh my God, does he really think I'm going to try to sell it? And like you said, like, nowadays it's like, Ortis, you tell me how many stars there are one more time.
I do think it's really funny where in the start of the game, I know this isn't like a normal Ortis quote that he says a lot, but when you start the game and he's like, operator, and he's like, I've done such a bad job. You can initiate self-destruct protocol.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Ortis, dang, dude.
Yeah.
Slow down. Pump the brakes a little bit.
Also, because of spoilers, I won't get into it, but some of my favorite dialogue, not necessarily my favorite quotes, but some of my favorite dialogue involves Starchild. And that's all I'm going to say.
I'm shocked you didn't say any of those.
Well, it's for spoilers.
Yeah,
I didn't want to
that's
get
fair.
into it because that's got a lot of sacrifice stuff. So once you play the sacrifice, just know that all the Starchild stuff is some of my favorite Ortis dialogue.
Oh, yeah.
I love that
Some
stuff.
of the best.
But as far as like my favorite quote, definitely the perhaps someday Ortis will share a similar fate.
That one's so funny.
Yeah, it just broke my heart. I was like, no, man, you're my friend.
I know, right? You're my bro. Ortis for life.
I love Ortis. I genuinely do like Ortis. I know, like, sometimes on the stream, I'm like, oh, dude, shut up. But
No, we only do that to Vor.
no, that's you.
I yell at Vor every single time we're in
I think
the void.
Vor's speech should be an alarm clock, and you can't interrupt it.
Oh, no. Fuck that. I'm out.
You have to listen to the whole thing.
No. So we had another question come in, and this was by Snake Venom, and it says, what was the first frame you wanted to get when you started Warframe outside of the starters? This one was interesting. So when I first got into Warframe, I had the starter, obviously. When I got back into it this past year, the one that convinced me to come in that I really was like, yeah, I really want that one, and Jeremy ended up buying it for me, was Octavia.
Which is kind of funny.
Is kind of funny now. But as far as when I started playing Warframe and I was looking at all the frames, the number one frame that I wanted to get was Avara. Hands down. And she is still one of my favorite frames.
Yeah.
And one of my most played, honestly, is Avara. She was the one I wanted. So yeah, that was mine. What about you, Jeremy? Your first frame when you started?
There were two. Oberon. Because, yeah, I know. I really wanted to get Oberon.
Yeah.
I love paladins as a general rule. I tend to like how paladins play in games, and I've heard a lot of people to this day still call him the paladin frame.
He is.
I think that's appropriate. He's got some heal, some damage. He has a skill called Smite. He's the paladin frame.
Yep.
Unfortunately, as you may or may not know, he is very easy to get. I did not expect how easy he would be to get, and I bought him with Plat almost immediately. Yeah. But I loved the way he looked. Unfortunately, when I got him, I didn't know much about primes or how the whole prime part of the game worked.
Mm-hmm.
So I got regular Oberon instead of Oberon Prime, who turns out to be, I would say he's underrepresented as one of my favorite frames. I don't play Oberon nearly as much as I want to. I really love him.
Yeah.
But the reality of the situation is there are frames that either fit better for what we're doing or I'm in the mood to play.
Yeah.
So he kind of gets the short end of the stick a little bit, which is kind of a bummer. I should play more Oberon.
Yeah.
The other frame was Banshee Prime because I thought she had the coolest helmet in the game.
Oh, she still does.
She does, yeah. She's definitely one
Yeah.
of the better ones.
That is such a cool headpiece.
But yeah, when I first started Warframe, it was Oberon and Banshee Prime were the two I was really gunning for.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, and it's really funny how that works too, because I play the crap out of Avara, and I know you bring out Banshee every once in a while, depending on who we're playing with.
Yep.
Because we do have some resident Banshee players that we play with regularly, and they're the ones that play Banshee more of the times than not. They'll play her.
Yeah. And I'm one of those people, I don't feel like it's stepping on my toes to play a frame I like. Instead, I'm just like, oh, okay, cool. That helps me choose you know, because I'm always trying to choose between like 4 or 5 frames.
Yep.
So, you know, we're running with someone playing Banshee and someone playing Nidus. I'm like, okay, cool. I can play Octavia and not feel guilty about it.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So we have one more question before we run out of time this week. I know we're ending it a little bit early, but just timing. This is
Always
just kinda,
leave them wanting more.
Yep, just timing. This is kind of how it's working out. And this is from Hua, and it is, what would you tell someone to get them to play Warframe? And I thought this was a really fun one because we've been talking to a lot of people in our real life that either watch the stream or we're playing other games with. And we're like, what would we tell them to get them to play Warframe? And it's hard, too. This is a hard question. I think for me, the way I describe the game is it is a loot shooter of sorts that is ninjas in space. I literally say ninjas. I say like space ninjas in almost every description. But
I would say if it's somebody I know, then I would pick something I know they like and choose the weapon or frame closest resembling that and pitch it that way.
So example. My favorite game is Witcher 3. You know I play a lot of Witcher 3 and like fantasy games. Pitch me Warframe.
So you're really into fantasy games.
Yeah.
And you know me, so you know I wouldn't, you know, recommend a bad game.
Yeah, of course.
How cool would it be if you boarded an alien spaceship with a sword and shield in hand and you tore through the ship as you went, you know, doing a little stealth, a little murder, some cool, you know, combo moves and everything. And then when you get surrounded, you hold your hand up in the air and all the enemies around you lift up into the ground and then get slammed back on the ground dead.
That would be cool.
Yeah,
That's
and
a
then
good way
like
to do
and
it,
you're in a group. Oh, well now you've also got healing because you're straight up paladin now, man. Yeah, and like, you know, you kind of rope them in with the fantasy of Oberon's class.
Yeah.
You know, being in like an MMO situation
or
not a fantasy situation.
Yeah.
I should
Or it's, you know, it's Destiny but better and free.
Yeah, Destiny but better and free is actually probably what got a lot of you here.
Yeah, because that's literally what it is. It's
That's what got
the
me
precursor to Destiny that is better than Destiny with more choices and more freedom, and it's free, 100%.
Actually,
free.
I'll be honest. What got me here was, hey, it's not Destiny 2.
Yeah, that was one of the big ones. And
'Cause
hey, it's
yeah.
free.
I was so mad about that whole announcement thing. We don't need to go into that again.
Yeah. But I don't know, it's really funny, like, thinking, like, what would I tell someone to get them in Warframe? I also probably would play the TennoTunes recent winner, the Warframe. The weird, like, 80s. Yeah, the weird 80s song. Yeah, I would play them that, too.
Yeah, I think, I think you had the right of it, though. If I didn't know them super well, you know, we met at a bar or something, got talking video games, and I was like, hey, you ever play Warframe? Nah, man, I've heard the name a few times. I'm like, it's ninjas in space.
Yep.
Or I would set up the visual of the Railjack trailer. All right, imagine this. You and 3 of your buddies are on a ship, right? You're flying through an asteroid belt. You see the enemy ships coming at you. So 2 people hop on the guns and start shooting. As you get closer, you see the mothership. 1 or 2 members of your party jump off of your ship, take jetpacks, board the enemy ship. And while they're running and gunning through the system, the captain of the ship sitting there, remote hacking in, undoing all the traps to free up the space while the other 2 board the ship to destroy the reactor. Meanwhile, the gunner that stayed behind on the ship is still fighting off enemy ships, and when people board, they got to take care of it and they got to put out fires. And then once they blow the reactor, or once they flag the reactor, then the captain puts full power to guns, takes out the reactor. The other guys join back up on the ship, and you fly off into the horizon to do it again. Like, who would say no to that game?
Yeah, and what's so funny is, so working at a restaurant, you know, and bartending and stuff like that, like, I have a lot of free time to talk to people, you know, and they're like, oh, what do you do for fun? I'm like, oh, well, I run a podcast for a video game and I stream on Twitch. And for some people, they're like, what? But for some, like, for the select few that actually know what Twitch is, they're like, oh, no way. What game do you stream? And I'm like, oh, I stream Warframe. And they're like, oh, I've heard of it. What is it? So I actually get to describe this all the time. And I'm literally, my first thing is it's ninjas in space. You've got 35 Warframes to choose from. All have their own abilities, and you've got probably hundreds, if not thousands, of different types of weapon combinations that you can do that are all 100% moddable, and it's 100% free and constantly getting updated. Come check it out because it's worth at least checking out.
I think the pitch for my brother was something similar to Diablo in space with 34 classes.
Nice,
because
yeah.
Korra wasn't out at the time.
Yeah.
I think it was something similar to those lines because I mean, or maybe it was Borderlands, not Diablo. I mean, it's the same thing though.
Yeah, same concept.
Loot horde game.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, so thank you guys for sending in questions. I know we got more questions than what we answered this week, but that's just because of time. We don't have the most time to push it out to the 2 hour or the hour and a half and longer route that we have right now. But we will, come back and answer these as well. So just because we didn't answer your question doesn't mean we're not going to.
Keep them coming because we'll get to all of them.
Yeah, basically I have one giant sheet that I basically have started compiling and I have an entire email folder just of questions from you guys. And Jeremy compiles them constantly from Discord and Twitter and stuff. So
it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, just because we didn't answer this week does not mean we're not going to answer it. So make sure you tune in next week. And we can, keep these going. And I'm really glad that we were able to do that. As far as this is going to be it for episode 17. Holy crap, we're on episode 17.
Wow, yeah.
I know, right?
Don't forget, on top of sending us the questions today or the answers today about how you feel about CC at Endgame, also send us stuff on how you deal with burnout because that's our main theme for episode 20. So keep that stuff coming because we got a lot of really good answers, a lot of different answers too.
Yeah,
it's
a lot
really
of varied
exciting.
stuff of tactics.
We may not read every single email verbatim, but we're probably gonna spend the whole 90 minutes, a big chunk at the very least, talking about burnout, what causes it, how to deal with it, especially in a game like Warframe that's always evolving. So please send us those answers. I'm really loving everything I've read.
Yeah, we love hearing from you guys. And one of our biggest things, and I know we said this several times, and it's worth repeating again, is one of the biggest things that we wanted to when we set out to make this podcast is we didn't want to just make it two people talking back and forth and discussing Warframe. And why we love it and the things we like and the things we don't like and, stuff going on in the community. But we really wanted to discuss the community as well. Because one, Warframe has the best community around. And two, all these voices, we want to make sure you guys feel represented. And you guys feel like you have a voice. So definitely send us questions, send us your thoughts, and we will, we'll bring those to light. And especially because what might help you, especially with this burnout thing, what might be helpful for you, might actually help somebody else out. And if we can help each other, it's great.
So, oh, yeah.
Teamwork makes the dream work. That's what I say at work now. So, yeah. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. We will be back again next Monday with our episode 18 we'll be releasing.
Ooh.
And we will have information from the dev stream that's coming out and all this other goody stuff.
No, we won't. There's no dev stream next week.
There's no dev stream next week. I forgot.
Yep.
I remember that was coming up, but I forgot it was that one.
No dev stream next week.
Well, no dev stream next week then. I apologize.
So definitely send us those emails or your episode next week's only going to be 20 minutes long.
That's not true. We'll have plenty of stuff to discuss.
No. We've got stuff.
We just. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in, and we look forward to getting your emails, your thoughts, your feedback, your questions, and all that good stuff. I hope that you're still getting all of those vaulted relics that you're wanting, and that your CC is always performing as adequately as possible. And until next time, stay safe, Tenno. TennoTalk is a weekly Warframe podcast produced and edited by Rebecca and Jeremy of One Couple Versus. Warframe is created by Digital Extremes. Music for the podcast is provided by Purple Planet Music, and the Orta sound clip is provided by the Digital Extremes and Sidekick. You can email the show at TennoTalk@gmail.com and reach us on Twitter at Tenno_talk. You can also join us live on Twitch at TennoTalk. And make sure to follow us so you get updates on when we are live, and you can subscribe to the channel to help support the show. You can download the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, and along with most major podcasting apps. If you like the show, be sure to rate us and leave a review, and thank you guys so much, and we'll see you next week with episode 18.